since, they say, Australia lost its virginity the night number 96 premiered on the 10 network. It was the 70s. The show served up a drama that was full of sex and nudity and humour and a bit more sex. It changed TV forever, and tele-tragic Andrew Mercado is here to tell us all about it. Let's welcome him in. Yay!
Original.
Oh,
It's vintage, man.
so vintage.
Amazing. This is what the cast and everyone used to wear back in the day with that original
Logo.
10 logo.
Oh, wow. Andrew, how different was the TV landscape before number 96 premiered?
Well, before number 96 premiered, nobody actually knew whether anyone would watch an Australian drama every night of the week. There was really only Homicide and the cop shows. Bellbird, yes, on the ABC, The Country Town, and then number 96 came along and really shocked everybody with its very adult sexual frankness.
And as you say, it was very racy. It was full on. Was it well received at the start, or did it take a bit of time?
No, it pretty much smashed through on night one. I think it was so different to anything that had been on air. And, you know, the stuff we very casually put on TV back in 1972, it took the Brits and the Americans years and years to catch up with it. We broke a whole bunch of taboos first here in Australia.
Everybody watched it, and it's really interesting. 1972, you see, 1972, that was the year Gough Whitlam became Prime Minister. That was the year we launched Cleo.
Yep.
And here's number 96.
Wow.
The big change that was happening in Australia, it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But I think that's important too, to put it in perspective in terms of women hadn't had the vote for very long, even then. Homosexuality was only just becoming acceptable, and these were all subjects...
illegal in a lot of stuff.
Yes, exactly.
It wasn't really acceptable.
But so we had a show that had lead characters who were homosexual, women owning their own sexuality. What was the motivation for Channel 10 to put this outrageous show on?
Well, Channel 10 decided to gamble big, and it paid off even bigger. Back then, they really weren't competing against 7 and 9. They knew they had to do something really big so that they could have some buying power to buy other shows. And really, number 96 worked so well, it put this network on the map.
Actually, they got two really big things and showed them on television.
Now, there was a
Did they
that was
create the
made.
box? Was 10 the box as well? Which
Yes,
followed. Yes,
yeah,
but then the
Crawford-
box came pretty soon after number
Correct,
96.
yeah.
That was slightly more sophisticated.
Yeah, so then they had the two shows together.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a show that breaks so many taboos nowadays?
Look,
Is there room for
most
another?
taboos have probably been broken, but you know what? This show was launched in braver times. I think free-to-air networks would be scared about putting a show
I
like this on.
agree.
Yeah.
I actually think if you showed a show that was note for note almost identical to number 96, it would be shut down almost immediately in a sea of social media outrage.
Probably.
I've almost
But
Yeah.
why haven't they re-shown it? Because it'd be fabulous to see
Well,
it.
a lot of the black and white stuff is actually thrown out, which is really tragic.
You had
Yeah.
one job,
Yeah.
library. 2 years after the series came the movie. How different was that?
Well, the movie was the big chance to see everybody in colour for the first time. You went to the cinema. They also went a lot further with the nudity and the sexual situations. But, you know, this was a film aimed at families. It was put
Families?
into cinemas at school holidays.
Hello.
And the cinemas were hugely packed. They reckon that this film was probably the highest grossing film of 1974. Adjusted for inflation, this film, which was made for less than $100,000, went on to make in today's money $37 million. Now, I mean, if we have a big Australian film today like Red Dog, it makes $15 million. We get excited. This film was probably 3 times as popular. They couldn't put cleaners into the cinemas between sessions. There were so many people, the rubbish would be piled knee-deep by the nighttime session at the Regent here in Sydney.
Oh my
incredible.
gosh. Well, there is a special 40th anniversary screening of number 96, the movie, this Sunday in Sydney. All the details are on our website. Thanks for walking us down memory lane, Andrew Mercado.